How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel. So John Kennedy takes charge of his first ever first team game as Celtic manager after Neil Lennon's resignation last week. Celtic are taking on Aberdeen in about 40 minutes time, and the starting 11 is in. So this is how Celtic start. They start with Scott Bain in nets. They've got Brown, Klimala, Turnbull, Kenny, Christie, Odsonne-Edouard, Ajer, McGregor, Welsh and Laxalt. So the way that I would assume that they are starting with this team is a 4-4-2 diamond with obviously you've got Kenny right back, Welsh and Ajer as the centre back partnership, and then you've got Laxalt as an out and out full back, and then you've got Brown in centre midfield as the holding midfielder in the diamond, then probably Turnbull and McGregor as the eights with Christie at the top of the diamond, and then you've got Klimala and Odsonne-Edouard up front. So before we actually get started on the game and what I think is going to happen, a word on John Kennedy and what he's going to do with the team and sort of the week as a whole. So obviously it was a bit of a weird week, a busy week, and a week where the spotlight was very much on Celtic and on John Kennedy and on this game and what he's going to do. And I know a lot of people, I'm not sure what you actually think about John Kennedy, you can let me know in the comments below. A lot of people have been sort of questioning why John Kennedy hasn't gone with Neil Lennon in the resignation, because obviously he's part of it. And I do think that comes into this and how he's going to be judged, because a part of me definitely does believe that John Kennedy is culpable enough because he has been around the club so much and around the club for so long, and especially working as the assistant for Neil Lennon. And then another part of me has spoken to a couple of people. You listen to Damien Duff, who had nothing but high praise of John Kennedy's coaching ability, and I also spoke to a guy who worked in the Celtic background for a couple of months and got to know the sort of ins and outs and how things were working, and he could not sing John Kennedy's praises higher in terms of his coaching ability. If you watch John Kennedy's press conference, I'm not sure if anybody's seen it, but I'd highly recommend going and listening to it, because he was very clear in what he was saying. He was concise in what he wanted to do, and a few things that he spoke about really give me a little bit of excitement again. I'm excited to watch Celtic this weekend, and I'm not going to say that I think John Kennedy is the man for the job. I actually don't think he probably is, and I don't think he believes he is either by the sounds of it. But I thought he was really impressive. Three things that he touched on I thought were absolutely spot on. So he spoke about taking the emotion out of the week and how this has been a highly emotional week for these players because Neil Lennon has been their manager, and when you are a first team player especially and the manager gets sacked or resigns, it's a little bit of upheaval. How's the new guy going to take you? Am I still going to be in a job? And am I still going to be starting? So he spoke about taking all that emotion out and just working on the basics on the training ground. Steve McManus is coming up to help with the coaching side of things. He confirmed that in the press conference as well. And interestingly, and this is the second point of the press conference that really impressed me, that was he spoke about coaching and how these players need more coaching, and how the more coaches you can have taking individuals and small groups out to work on specific things that they need to work on. That's something we've spoke about on the Huddle Breakdown podcast a couple of times, that specialization is becoming more and more part of the game, and it's not so much working with the entire team the entire time. It's taking strikers out, defenders out, midfielders out, and working on specific things, like Liverpool's Man City, working on throw-ins only, working on set pieces only. And the more coaches, I know some people might work on the more chefs in the kitchen and all that there kind of thing. It gets a bit mixed up, but I think specialization, the more people you have working specializations in these different coaching brackets, then I do think you will improve. And Celtic need to improve in those special areas like set pieces, especially in set pieces, which is also something that John Kennedy said that they know themselves. They're not blind of the faults that Celtic have had this season, and that's what they want to work on. They want to work on getting back, taking the emotion out of things and getting back to working on the process and improving things. And that was the third point that I really thought he was impressive with. He also, obviously, he got loads of questions as well. Is this his dream job? Is this the job that he wants to take? Does he see himself in charge of the Celtic next season? And he sort of batted them off. He said he's not interested in taking the job full time yet. I'm not sure if I fully believe that, but he said that essentially he is here to help the club forward and help them improve. And there was always this underlying tone throughout the entire press conference that John Kennedy himself knew what was wrong this season. And you could say that maybe he didn't help improve things. Maybe he didn't have the power. I'm not going to speculate too much because I wasn't there. I wasn't in the background team. And all it is speculation unless you actually know, unless you've seen the dynamic between him and Lennon. So I'm willing to give him a chance. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very excited to watch Celtic play. Let's talk about the game itself. So on the starting 11, it's an interesting change that he's made with the Klimala up front as opposed to Ajeti, or even just starting a second striker. I think we all want two strikers playing, especially if we're playing a diamond. And I think what Klimala's specific role is that Aberdeen obviously play really compact and really tight and try sit back, sit deep. That could prove an issue for Klimala because he does like to get in behind, but I would presume that Klimala is in there to stretch the Aberdeen defence. I would expect to see Klimala come out quite wide today and actually play almost sort of like an inverted winger and try stretch this Aberdeen defence as much as they can. I hope the Celtic will be playing a little bit quicker and a little bit more dynamic than they have been, instead of side to side, not really making any progress in the defence. And listen, Aberdeen are in bad form. Celtic beat them a couple, was it last Wednesday or a couple of Wednesdays ago with David Turnbull's only goal. And Celtic really failed to break Aberdeen down. They were really good for the first 20 minutes, moving the ball quickly, stretching in defence, stretching Aberdeen out of the positions. And then after that 20 minutes, it just slowed down. Aberdeen started getting a little bit niggly, started getting stuck into Celtic. And that's where you see the weaknesses. So I think if Christie is playing as the number 10, then I'm not sure about that. But Turnbull, McGregor, Brown, that dynamic should work in the diamond, because I presume Brown is in there because you don't really need the Sorrow with the experience or with the energy that he brings as a CDM. You need someone who's going to be positionally smart, as Brown is, and Brown is good, strong in the tackles. I'm not sure about Sorrow in that sense. Sorrow can be a bit hit or miss with his tackling. So I presume that's the rules that they're going to play. It may prove to be wrong, but all I want to say is that I am really excited to see Celtic play again, because the last couple of months have been pretty much just numbness of not looking forward to Celtic playing, because I knew they weren't going to play well, and also that I knew it was making no difference on the actual league. And I suppose like this game is no different. Celtic can't win the league title. Rangers will wrap that up in a couple of weeks' time. But I think like everyone, like I just want to see Celtic playing better now, and hopefully this is what we'll see. You've got the obvious bounce from a manager leaving, and you always see that sort of initial bounce. So I expect Celtic to be full of energy in this game against Aberdeen. And if Celtic are full of energy, if they move the ball quickly, if they move the ball fast, and if they stretch Aberdeen out of the positions instead of just going side to side, back to Ayer, back to Welsh, back to Brown, then across into Laxalt, that crap will not do anything against Aberdeen, because they will just happily sit back and watch you do that. So interesting to see what Aberdeen do against Ayer, because I think Ross County actually came up with the blueprint to stop Celtic, or stop Christopher Ayer at least, and that is just get your striker to sit on Christopher Ayer and do not move, and do not allow him to do his bursting runs into the midfield and drag your midfielders out of position. So I'm interested to see how this game is going to go. I think that's the main emotion I'm going into this. It's interest more than anything, and to be fair, that's more than I've had in the last couple of weeks, even though I've been making loads of videos. I will be back with full-time reaction to this game with Joko James. So I think he was actually doing his usual benchmarking against Aberdeen on his Twitter page, if you want to go check that out. So listen, enjoy the game. Hopefully we get a win. Hopefully John Kennedy's team play with a little bit more zip, a little bit more energy that we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks, and we will be back again at full time, hopefully with a Celtic win. We'll chat to you a bit.